So, I was browsing Twitter, as you do, being angry, as you do, being weird, as you do. And I came across this post, which, you know, it is what it is. People like to hate on Marvel. There's a lot of valid points. Uh, so this is what the post says. It says, this is one of the most significant film images of 2023. To me, it represents when audiences started asking themselves, why do I always pay money to watch these things over and over again when I haven't actually enjoyed them for years? And the spell was broken from there. Okay, pretty reasonable. I would say pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. This was a kind of a big moment, at least on Twitter, where Twitter's the only place in the world that is real and exists. That image, that guy, that film definitely was controversial, to say the least. So then we get a reply to himself here. He says, last night I watched the new Godzilla movie. The entire budget was $15 million, and the special effects looked very good, and in fact, I got more of a sense of vertigo from a train suspended in mid-air dumping out the contents in this movie than in Mission Impossible 7. Okay, okay. I haven't seen the new Godzilla movie, so I have no idea if that's true. I'm excited to see the new Godzilla movie. I think that's going to be super interesting. But anyways, so we get Dylan here. Dylan says, to be fair, MI7 was mostly good, and the series heavily relies on practical effects and stunts. That's, I think, fairly true. That is how they advertise Mission Impossible movies and really any Tom Cruise movie. But I recently have been watching some videos by a fella named The Movie Rabbit Hole, which I think are really good. They're really good videos, and they're really interesting look at this narrative of no CGI, all practical. We're doing it for real. Everything you see is real, really happened, and we're trying to minimize CGI. There's this huge narrative. It's especially prominent in marketing, I think, and it's in all the commercials, and even in the behind the scenes, it is very prevalent. There's this hate against CGI. Nobody wants to be seen as having CGI in their movies, even though, if it's done well, it looks good. So these good videos. The first video was 6 months ago. It's called No CGI is Really Just Invisible CGI. And the first part came out 6 months ago. Second part just came out earlier today, coincidentally, when I was going back to find this video to reply to this guy. So basically, this is kind of what I went into with my reply here. I said practical in that they did do something. They did something practically. It's practical as in they did something and they filmed it. That's what I was trying to convey here. When you break down movies like MI7 and Maverick, you discover that most of the practical elements get covered by CGI, or they get completely removed by the end of the process, by the end of the post-processing, the editing portion of the filmmaking process. However, the benefits are tangible, as they make for excellent reference material. So that's something that this video goes into, and it's not that I am only relying on this video for my perspective. I'm not just parroting what this guy says. I've always been interested in visual effects. I've done some visual effects just on personal projects and things like that. I've experience with it, and I like to learn about visual effects and how they do it and the different ways they do it and how it shows up in movies. But his video blew my mind in the fact that something like Maverick, which was touted as all practical, and the jets look all real, is still like 90% CGI. And the jets aren't real. The jets are not real. But I think if you know anything about visual effects, you know that having a good reference image will really improve the look of your CG. So if you film some practical element that is somewhat equivalent or connected to what the final product should look like, then it makes it easier for you to do the CGI aspects, the visual effects afterwards, and make it look good. Because you have that physical real world reference, you can translate it into your CG and it makes it look better. So that's what I'm saying here. I'm trying to basically summarize this guy's whole video into like one Twitter post. And this is the interaction. This is why I make the video, because the interaction kind of annoyed me. It annoyed me. And it's frustrating. So he says, I know they use CGI, but the behind the scenes segments make it very clear what is and isn't real. So I don't agree with that assessment. So that's what he said in reply to what I said about how really just gets covered up with CGI anyway. Which, I mean, fair enough. The behind the scenes for all these Tom Cruise movies in particular, because that's what it's about. It's about Mission Impossible originally, and then I brought up Maverick. To be fair, I brought up Maverick because that's what is talked about in the video that I'm about to link to this guy. But Tom Cruise has an insane level of control over his movies. So it stands to reason that this rhetoric about the using practical effects instead of CGI would carry over for the same reasons. I reply, I say, the behind the scenes are not showing you the full picture. They lean heavily into the practically shot elements, but leave out the part where it's covered up with CGI afterward. This is especially apparent in Maverick, where they actually filmed with dummy planes and not the jets, like the actual jets that you would expect. They filmed with completely different planes that don't look anything like the final product, because the final product is all CG. It's covered up with CG. There's certain real elements mixed in. There are some real jets in the movie, of course, but most of what you see and it ends up being CG, and it looks fantastic. It looks fantastic. It's beautiful CG because they have those reference videos. It's beautiful CG, but you have to admit that they are CG, because when you really look at it, there's no denying that it is CG. You can't just disagree with it. It is CG. They've covered it up with CG. They had practical elements, and then they covered it up with CG, which is not a bad thing. That's not bad. What is annoying, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is the marketing around it, and that's what this guy's getting at, the video that I'm going to link. And you can see him down there. That's what's annoying. That's what's frustrating. It's misleading, and it's hurtful to the CGI artists. The visual effects artists who are making your movie, you're basically saying, no, they don't count. You have 1,000 VFX artists working on your movie, and you're just pretending like they don't exist, really. His reply to that is just, Top Gun is not part of the Mission Impossible series, so that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. Obviously just glossing over the point because he doesn't like the pushback that I'm giving. I know this is a random Twitter thread. It's like got 20 views on the thread. It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's just Twitter. But it just is something more pervasive than just this one Twitter thread. That's why I'm just focusing in. This is the conversation I had. It just motivated me to talk about it. So I link the video. I'm getting a little annoyed now. I apologize. I was annoyed. I'm being snarky. That's just how Twitter is. But I'm like, that's really great for you. But what I'm saying applies to Mission Impossible series as well. And then I said, I recommend that you watch this. And then I linked the video that I've been referring to.
Despite the visual effects credits on Hollywood films being longer than ever before, if you are to believe the filmmakers, they're also using less CGI than ever before.
No one else in the world is doing this level
Mission
of practical
Impossible 7
filmmaking,
right here.
and it may never be done again.
Probably
Everybody
why
loves
I made the
practical
connection.
filmmaking, so that's what the studios are giving you.
Aviation film like this has never been done, and chances are will never be done again. It's very important to me that it be practical.
One of these days, they're gonna put no CGI was used in the making of this film in the credits, right above no animals were harmed in the making of this film, because that's how important it is for them that you know that they used no CGI. And we're quick
You
to
should
pick up the
definitely
story and
watch
report
this
on it
video
like
for
this.
yourself.
In an age where computer-generated special effects reign supreme,
Indian jets, painted them grey, and added tracking markers so they could be used for lighting reference and track,
This is the main
essentially
part.
using them as a flying anti-circus to be completely replaced with CGI. So how many jets are CGI and how many are real? The Dark Star was made available to the production as a full-size mock-up, but it didn't fly, so it's completely CGI, either tracked onto a stand-in jet or animated by hand. The good old F-14 doesn't fly anymore. It's all CGI.
So they used dummy jets and placeholder jets to film practically. So when they're filming practically, they're filming different jets. And then in the post-processing, in the editing, in the visual effects stage of production, they replace the dummy jets with CG jets. And in some cases, they replace the environment and the whole scene is CG. But the reference that they used was real. They really filmed it. It wasn't stock footage. It wasn't completely 100% fake. It's just they started with the real video of the jets and just kept adding on top of it until either most of it was CGI or all of it was CGI. That's what he's going into here.
The enemy's 5th generation fighters, they don't exist. They're
These
all
planes
CGI,
don't even
either
exist.
tracked onto other stand-in jets or animated by hand. Which means that in the entire dogfight at the end of the movie, you're watching 100% CGI airplanes because none of these planes exist.
No
None of
CGI
the
in the
planes
jets.
exist.
There's no information about
That's where the confusion comes from. Even in the behind-the-scenes footage on the Blu-ray, on the special edition, on the bonus content, even there, you will not get an honest depiction of the process. And nobody will tell you that the final version of the movie is this much CGI. Whatever percentage it is. Nobody will tell you that. No, because it's almost like they're not allowed to. And he talked about this more. I don't want to overtread on what the specifics that he gets into, but the gist of it is, even if it was shot practically, it's not real in the final product. But anyways, I sent this video to this guy. I'm like, you should watch this. And I said, if you like films enough to argue, you should know that Tom Cruise controls both Maverick and Mission Impossible to an extreme level. It only makes sense that if they do these bait and switches for Maverick, then they would do it for Mission Impossible, which had the exact same marketing tactics, where they say, it's all practical, we did a bunch of practical stunts, and da 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 da. It's like, if they're saying that for Maverick, and they're saying it for Mission Impossible, and Tom Cruise is producing both movies, they're doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. This guy simply replies, I just don't agree. That's all. I just don't agree. And you can see my response here. You can't just disagree with reality. There is no such thing as a 100% practical shot in the final product of specifically Tom Cruise movies. Or really anything, but like specifically Tom Cruise movies. I'm like, please just watch the video. This isn't like me shitting on these movies. It's just that you should actually appreciate the level of work that goes into them and the level of detail that visual effects artists put into these movies. Sure, it was filmed practically. Like, there's practical elements. But the visual effects artists are still doing a lot of goddamn work. And you should respect that. Just respect the visual artists who are making this stuff and doing this work. But yeah, that's just what I just need to rant about that. It's frustrating. Just something I came across. So yeah, that's it.